NFL trade deadline has come and gone. Who are the big winners for this year? The college football playoff rankings are officially upon us. Who do we think should be in the top 4? And Jordan Love, is it finally time for a Hall of Famer to be benched? Coming up on Sports Talk with Dad right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who is still obsessed with a team that has not won anything. My dad, too. It's not harsh. It's true.
They won the American League.
You sent me an article about something stupid.
It was not stupid. I think it's kind of cool.
They're making a movie. So you guys, my dad is obsessed with the 1982 Brewers, as is every Brewers fan. They won nothing.
They won the American League pennant.
They lost the World Series in 7 games.
And what's the next line out of their mouth?
And they would have won the World Series had Rowley Fingers not got hurt. It is from every Brewers fan. Every single Brewers fan, it's the same stupid line. You know what that equates to? You lost. And now this guy sends me an article that they're making a movie about this team that lost. This is like making a movie about Kurt Warner going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
except that actually happened.
Look, there's something about that team, and it's as close to Major League as you're going to get with the personalities that was on that team. You know, you had Gorman Thomas and Pete Vukovich smoking in the dugout between innings. You had Robin Yount, arguably one of the greatest, well, I'll put him as a top 10 shortstop of all time. Certainly.
Sure. I think most people do.
You had Paul Molitor, leadoff guy, who was amazing. Had to go someplace else to win his World Series, by the way. And then you had guys like Charlie Moore, who still made one of probably the second best throw I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
He was in deep right field. Ball was hit to him. Reggie tried to either, I can't remember if he was tagging up on second or if he tried to leg. Yeah, he was tagging up on second. He was trying to go to third. Moore threw a line drive BB that got him at, I mean, Reggie got up and saluted him. Reggie didn't salute anybody. It was just a fun team to watch and to be around.
Yeah. They didn't win.
They had 4 guys that hit over 30 home runs.
That's great.
It was awesome.
You know what they didn't do?
They had 6 Hall of Famers on that team.
It's great.
Yeah.
You know what? And a Hall of Fame announcer.
That's true.
You know what they didn't do?
Yes, I do.
Win the World Series. Ozzie Smith got his.
I will say, the Cardinals probably had more pure speed on that field. Willie McGee ate the Brewers up. Just destroyed them.
That's how bad that team was. They retired Rowley Fingers' number, who played for him for 3 seasons and was hurt when they needed him. Why are you retiring that guy's number?
I've never understood it, and I've told you that. I don't get it. He did win the Cy Young and the MVP that year.
You don't have a banner for it.
I don't know why. Got American League pennant banner.
Yeah, you did. You did.
But
haven't gotten that World Series yet. The 57 Braves have a World Series in Milwaukee. There's that. You guys don't talk about that team, and that had more Hall of Famers than the 82 Brewers team. Look, that is the forgotten team.
The
57 Braves are the forgotten team.
Their fans are
dead,
gone now. I mean, your grandfather was one of them.
Yeah,
that's the one argument. That team in particular should be able to be honored in Milwaukee. You should be able to hang Eddie Matthews' number in Milwaukee.
I agree, and we've had that conversation, and I'm sure we'll have that conversation again. But on to baseball, real time, and talking about actual World Series championships, because a team's going to actually have one, unlike the Brewers. The Rangers and Diamondbacks, the series is 2-1.
It's been a fun series to watch.
I haven't enjoyed watching baseball like this when the Cubs are not involved in a long time. It still doesn't have the pitching duels I like.
True.
I still need to go back to that. But the pitch clock has made this game faster. It's more enjoyable. I've really liked watching this series.
The single best rule change baseball's ever made.
Hands down. Hands down.
I mean, I can go back to the start of the lengthening of the games was a guy named Toby Harrah for the Rangers.
Yeah.
Who would step out and he'd spend 30
Human rain
seconds
delay.
touching and changing his glove.
And then Garcia Parra came along and I
Right.
think set the world record for longest at bats because he refused to step in the damn box.
Correct.
I remember when he came to Wrigley and I'm like, I don't have time to watch this.
Well, it just gets
I'd go get my snacks at Garcia's when he was up to bat
yes.
because it's like this is going to take 2 hours. But the clock has been great. The one thing I still don't like, well, there's two things. One, they're still starting these games too late. I'm
Correct.
still not catching the end of these games. And I've been sick lately, so that has something to do with it. But I'm falling asleep while these games are going on. The games are still ending close to midnight because you're starting them at 8:30. You need to move up the start times to 6:30 Eastern time minimum. The West Coast isn't catching these at all.
Well, the West Coast is more in prime time when they're starting.
If
But-
you're starting 8:30 Eastern time,
You're
that
losing.
means I'm doing it backwards. Never mind.
You're losing a generation of fans, and I'm
Right.
going to chalk
West
that up.
Coast is watching this more. I'm sorry, I did that backwards.
I'm chalking that up to the spam gel that's on your brain because of the cold.
Yeah, I wore a spam T-shirt because my brain feels like Jello right now. It really does.
But I agree with you. On a Saturday afternoon, I know it's college football season, but you could start a World Series game in the afternoon.
What's the biggest thing in business? You have to believe in your product and that it will sell. Because if you don't believe in your product, nobody else will.
And
You starting games at 8:30 at night is saying we're going in this slot because nothing else is here, and we know that people will watch because nothing else is on.
and what do you lose? The next generation of
You do.
passionate fans.
Sell your product, believe in it, put it out when it's supposed to be. And I agree with you on that. The other thing I don't like, and I think you disagree with me on this one, baseball needs to stop the 2-3-2 and go to 2-2-1-1-1 like every other sport's doing.
It's possible now just because it's so easy. They all have private jets. They can fly back
Been
and forth.
possible since day one. Basketball and hockey have been doing this since the start.
I know. There's something about the 2-3-2 I've always liked because it really does give the home field team an advantage, and it makes them
I disagree.
prove themselves on the road.
I don't think it gives a home field advantage at all. If anything, I think it gives the home field advantage to the team that has 3 games in a row. Because what do you have to do? You have to steal one game, and then you literally have 3 home games now to put this away. The pressure is completely on the home team to win those first 2 games and then to steal one on the road.
Right. That's always the way it's been.
When in 2-2-1-1-1, it's much more competitive. You have 2 and then obviously 1-1-1, but that home game's rotating. With a 2-3-2, you are giving too much of an advantage to the one team that is playing 3 home games in a row.
And I'm going to probably anger a lot of people right now. Both these teams are wild card teams.
They are.
They shouldn't be in this World Series.
No.
You've got to win to get in baseball.
I don't like the wild card.
I don't
But
either.
this year does prove a lot against our theory with 2 wild card teams making it to the World Series. But really, these are teams that got hot at
Correct.
the end of the year. And the Rangers could have won the division. They didn't care.
No, they coasted the last part of it.
100%. Scherzer got hurt. They didn't start anybody.
And
They had no interest in winning the division.
which goes back to our point. Every team's got to be in it if they've got 5 3-team divisions, and they can't afford to then coast.
No, they can't. Our big idea is to break up baseball into 5 3-team divisions. You have a 1/3 chance every single year. But again, the wild card teams are getting in right now.
The big thing I'm hoping Garcia is okay for the Rangers because he's been outstanding this year. He's one of the most fun players in all of baseball to watch.
He has been. Scherzer's going to be out for the rest of the series. This is where
Yeah.
the Diamondbacks can really strike. But who do you got?
I'm still taking the Rangers in 6.
Taking the Rangers in 5. The Rangers haven't lost a road game yet. I think they win it in Arizona and just call it a day.
Even with Garcia, if he has to sit for a game,
Even if Garcia has to sit with the game, it's a really well-managed team. And I think they're just going to coast through. They're hot right now. If the Diamondbacks take the next one, it's going to be a different ball game because the Rangers haven't been as good at home. It's like the
Oh, yeah.
2016 Cubs.
Yeah.
2016 Cubs couldn't seem to win a game on the road if
At
they
home.
bought it. Or at
Yeah,
home,
at
I mean,
home,
at home
yeah.
if they bought it. There's too much pressure for the Cubs at home. The Rangers are dealing with the same thing. I don't think it's good for them to go back to their home stadium. If you can win on the road, win it.
speaking, and I'm going to change gears here. Speaking of teams that almost pulled off a miracle upset over the weekend, but they didn't, so I have to make you chilly now. My beloved Wisconsin Badgers went down to the hands of
The
nut.
say
Poison,
it.
poisonous
Say it.
nut.
The
Nope.
the Ohio State University.
The
Ready? O-H.
yeah.
Your turn. Your turn.
You want me to sing the song about Bucky Badger?
I-O. Why would you sing it? It's not true.
They should kiss what's under Bucky's tail. Anyways, it was a great game. Wisconsin was in the game until the last 5 minutes or so. They were down to 10-0 and came back and tied it. It was a good game.
I was talking a lot of smack last week's show, but you and I even had a conversation several days after the show posted where I was really nervous about that game. Camp Randall is a pit.
It is.
And what was I worried about? I was worried about Kyle McCord. I was worried about our quarterback, and he again. There's too many weapons for him not to get the ball out to him.
Right.
And he had time. It's just every single game he comes into, it seemed I almost think losing would be good for him.
Look, if C.J. Stroud was on this team, Wisconsin would have lost by 30 points.
Ohio State's the best team in the country if C.J. Stroud is still on this team.
Because he could hit, and he's proven it in the pros. He's just outstanding.
Yeah, he's great.
That your quarterback kept Wisconsin in the game. Marvin Harrison had an outstanding game.
He's going to.
They're running back. Yeah.
Henderson looked great.
He broke the game open and won it in the last bit. But now we're coming into Wisconsin for the first time. I can see parts of what Fickell's trying to do. The problem is they don't have the talent yet.
Right.
They lost on both sides of the line, which you can't do. So he's got.
But it's funny because this goes back to how we started the show at the 82 Brewers. They still didn't win. Ohio State won, and now I get chili, which is really, really exciting.
Yes, and I will make that for you when you can actually taste it again.
Yeah, I can't taste anything right now. I don't have COVID. It's just the flu. But I officially lost my taste buds this morning.
But tonight is a big night because the first of the official college football rankings come out.
Yeah.
Who do you got? And let's go top six. Who do you got?
Top six. Well, I prepared for the top four.
Okay, who do you got in the top four? And I'll add the two teams.
If we're looking at the top four, well, let's look at the top four we think it's going to be. Because really, I mean, if you look at the top five are going to be Michigan, they're going to be Ohio State, it's going to be Georgia, it's going to be Florida State, it's going to be Washington. Those are your top five teams. Those are the five undefeated teams in their top five right now.
And the other team that I will add in there is Alabama.
Alabama has no way.
SEC.
Alabama's not going to be in the top six. You're going to take an Alabama over a one-loss Oregon, who lost to what is now the number 5 team in the country. Get out of here.
What always happens. Alabama's going to be lurking in.
No, they've looked like trash all season. Alabama is not going to be in the top 6 teams.
My word.
Number 6 is going to be Oregon because they have one loss, and it's against the team that is number 5 right now. So if you want me to go through this, I will go through my top 5 teams.
Who's going to be your top 4? Because I think we're going to disagree on it.
All right. If we're doing the top 4 teams right now, my number 1 overall team, if you look at the win-loss record, there is one team that is undefeated that has beaten 2 top 15 ranked teams. They beat Penn State and they beat Notre Dame.
O-M-E-R. Go ahead.
Not a homer. This is facts. You can't argue with facts. They literally are the only team that has beaten 2 top 15 ranked teams, top 10 at the time actually ranked teams. They beat Notre Dame. They beat Penn State. Ohio State is going to be the number 1 ranked team.
I think Michigan will be.
How can you say Michigan is going to be? I don't even think they're in the top 2. Who has Michigan beat? Michigan beat East Carolina. They beat East Carolina. They beat UNLV. They beat Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Indiana, and Michigan State.
Yep.
They've beaten nobody. Those are all bad teams.
They look really good doing it.
They've had no good wins. I mean, they've destroyed teams they're supposed to destroy.
Right, which I think is going to count in that room. Anyways, who do you got for number 2?
My number 2, there's going to be a bias towards Georgia because they won it all last year, but they've had some close games. I'm actually not going to put Georgia at number 2. I'm not going to put Michigan at number 2, which means between Washington and Florida State. Florida State has beaten LSU early on in the season, but they haven't looked as good lately. Washington beat a very good Oregon team. I'm going to put Washington at number 2. If I'm picking this, if we're going by wins that count, Washington should be number 2 in the country.
I think Georgia will be number 2.
Which is a good thing.
It's an SEC bias. My number 3 team would then be Ohio State. I just think it'll.
I'm going Michigan, Georgia, Ohio State. When Ohio State has 2 solid victories.
They're going to be in the mix. These rankings, we're talking about them. It only matters that last poll when they were lining the teams up against each other. And it's not going to be Michigan, Ohio State in the end. But for right now, Ohio State is third in my mock draft.
If I'm picking third, and we're going off of really good wins, Georgia's looked good, but again, Ball State, South Carolina, UAB, they almost lost to Auburn. They beat Kentucky, they beat Vanderbilt, and they destroyed Florida. If I'm picking my number 3, I'm going Florida State.
I don't have them in the top 4.
I'm going to have Florida State in the top 4.
I have Washington in the top 4. I just think they're going to give the nod to somebody from out west.
Washington, obviously my number 2. My number 4 is Georgia. Means I'm putting Michigan out of the top 4. I think Michigan's going to be 5th.
Even though you're wearing their colors today.
No, I'm not. I'm wearing Spam colors. This is very different because they are also as bad as gelatinous meat. I think that this whole scandal thing is going to end up hurting them because don't forget, these are people voting, right? They're people voting, not actual computers, which I wish they kind of almost go back to. I like the BCS. They just needed the BCS in a playoff format. It was pretty fair. If we're going by complete wins, though, Florida State has the best wins behind Washington and Ohio State. Georgia then, by default, should get number 4 because of where they're ranked now, which will put Michigan back out to number 5, and Oregon would be number 6.
We'll see. We will talk about it next week and compare notes.
I'm just saying, like this I don't like this whole Michigan bias. I really don't. They haven't beaten anybody.
There's not a Michigan bias.
There is a Michigan bias.
Michigan has had
the fact that Michigan is still ranked above Ohio State when Ohio State has 2 quality victories and Michigan has no quality wins is a joke.
They've won without their head coach because of
against East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers.
We'll see tonight. I love it. You're getting all riled up.
But they haven't beaten anybody. What is this bias? I mean, who do they have coming up? They have Purdue next, and then their first real competition is against Penn State on November 11th. That's the first time they play anybody ranked in the top 25.
Just so angry.
They play 2 ranked teams all year.
Just because your poisonous nut isn't, I'm not ranking them number 1.
It's a Michigan bias. It's exactly what it is. People are obsessed. Why would Michigan be ranked as high as they are right now? I'm serious. It makes zero sense.
They've dominated.
They've had no quality wins.
They've dominated everybody, and they've looked really good in every one of their games.
Get Georgia being number 1 because they won the national championship the last 2 years. I get it. You're going to go with them. Georgia probably going to end up being number 1 in this college poll.
Ohio State's quarterback has held your team back a lot.
And we're winning in spite of that.
Yes, but they haven't looked as good when they're wins. And
it's still winning games you're supposed to win.
Again, it's people in the room.
But people in the room should understand Ohio State has 2 quality wins. Georgia and Michigan haven't played anybody.
It's going to come up that if it weren't for the last 5 minutes, they were only up by a touchdown against a team they should have destroyed.
Poll, the fact that Michigan's still number 2 ahead of Florida State, Washington, and Ohio State when they have no quality wins, and all 3 of those teams have wins against top 15 ranked opponents is a joke.
Washington is going to get into the top 4 because they're not going to have 4 Eastern teams.
Washington should be number 2 in this poll. If we're really doing this by quality wins, it should be Ohio State. It should be Washington 2nd, Florida State 3rd, Georgia 4th, Michigan 5th, Oregon 6th. That's how this should line up. And it won't because there's this Michigan bias where everybody wants to see Michigan succeed. And when it comes down to time, when Ohio State plays them on November 25th, we're going to see who's better, and Ohio State's going to come out on top once again in the big house.
Spoken like a true nut fan. All right, let's move on to the NFL because today is the big day. It is draft or trade deadline day.
It is, and a lot of activity in the trade deadline than I thought there would be. And there's a couple of good winners out there today.
San Francisco did really well.
San Francisco teams up Bosa and Chase Young once again from
they played
the Ohio State University.
I think, or was it Ball State? I can't remember.
The Ohio State University, bringing the Ohio State University to San Francisco to wear red just like they did before. This is going to get ugly for opposing quarterbacks.
It is, and they're going to need to because Brock Purdy has come back to earth. I don't know. I watched the game the other day, and when they were winning earlier in the year, Brock Purdy had that ball out within 2 or 3 steps.
He did.
He is running around a lot more now. And I don't think that's good. They have to go back to what
I don't know what's happening. He's thinking. And that's not a good thing for any quarterbacks not named Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers to do.
It is. And he's still a sound quarterback. He's still your starter, but he has lost. They've lost what?
3 in a row.
3 in a row. So they're not in danger yet, but they need to make some changes. Their defense is going to be a monster now.
Every team's going to have their slumps. It's going to happen.
Yes.
Every team is going to have their slumps. Get it out now.
Correct.
This is your slump now. Purdy's, don't forget, this is his second year. It's just a little bit of a sophomore slump. The game's getting quick on him. People are starting to figure him out now. People have tape. Same thing's going to happen to C.J. Stroud next year.
Sure.
Same thing happened to Sam Darnold. Same thing happened to Aaron Rodgers. The same thing happened to every single quarterback in their second year because people all of a sudden have tape on you.
That's where you have to rise above it.
He's got to figure this out, but it's not a big deal he's having bad games. He will figure it out.
The Jets are looking to pick up some free agent offensive linemen.
They need to.
The Lions get Peoples-Jones from the Browns, good wide receiver addition.
I guess. I don't think it's going to do much for him. He's a 5th wide receiver, which is never a bad thing to have.
Vikings and Jags trade. You get they sent guard Ezra Cleveland, and they're getting back. Who did they get back?
I think the bigger thing for the Vikings is the Vikings traded for Arizona's starting quarterback in Joshua Dobbs.
Yes, they did.
That's the big one.
They needed to.
And I think that is the best thing that the Vikings could have done. The guy that they had sitting behind him, he's a rookie. He was not ready to go. Joshua Dobbs actually is going to give this team a chance to continue to win. He was winning games. Well, not necessarily winning. He won 1 game in Arizona, but that team in Arizona was supposed to be a lot worse than it has been.
And they want it to be a lot
And they clearly do because they traded the 1 star that he had. He has no eyebrows, though. It weirds me out. Joshua Dobbs has no hair at all. There's some disease that he has where he has no hair at all. No eyebrows.
Now that's
anything.
That's going to bug me now. Thank you so much.
That's all I see. When I see him, it weirds me out. He has no eyebrows.
I didn't see that. And now you're going to make me see it.
He has no eyebrows.
Here's one that
I don't know what's wrong, but I know something's wrong.
I'm changing because I can't stop doing this now. Here's one you need to explain to me. Green Bay traded arguably their best cornerback in Rasul Douglas to Buffalo
for a third round
pick.
I don't know.
I mean, Douglas was over aggressive at times. He was. He got penalties and he got burned a couple times, but overall,
he's still our best defensive player.
He made some great plays.
I don't know. I don't know what we're doing in Green Bay. I have no clue what they're doing in Green Bay. No idea. I thought they were going to trade Preston Smith. I didn't expect Rasul Douglas. They say we're not rebuilding, yet we're acting like a team that's rebuilding. I don't know what's going on. All I know is that this team is bad and it's not showing any signs of life and getting better. It's a great move for the Bills.
Yeah,
great move for the Bills.
Great move. I mean, they needed to make this move, and good for them for making it. But I don't get it. If you want to make the Packers worse, you just did.
Yeah.
And
I think they do.
Okay, if you're going for the first round pick or the number 1 pick overall, you're on their way to that, but I don't want to see Caleb Williams in Green Bay.
Oh, I won't cheer for the Packers anymore. Well, he wants 25% of the ownership, and the Packers don't have an owner, so you don't have to worry about that.
Print up a bunch of.
To be fair, I don't know if I've ever heard Caleb Williams actually say that. That's just the reported stuff. But I don't want that kid. Anybody that writes swear words on their fingernails before games is not a person I want on my team.
I don't either. I don't understand it. Here's my next question, though. Jordan Love does not look good at all the last couple of days. Are they at the point now where they should sit him and just go with Sean Clifford for a couple of days?
No.
A couple of games?
They're riding him for the rest of the year. I mean, if you're going to bench him, you're going to bench him after Thanksgiving.
There's been some bad coaching calls. Another guy who would benefit to getting the ball out within 3 steps. 3 seconds, get that ball out.
It's a shit show in Green Bay. I mean, it's top down a mess. I've never seen anything like this in Green Bay before.
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about. Trading Aaron Rodgers was about the dumbest thing they could have done because he was the glue and the head coach and the offensive coordinator on that team.
Not re-signing Devontae Adams was pretty stupid. Not keeping Aaron Rodgers on this team to make a run was pretty dumb. Not bringing in Matt LaFleur was a bad decision. I mean, you got to clean house at this point. I mean, if we're going to rebuild, let's do it.
Well,
I think Jordan Love can still be salvaged. I really do. I don't think he needs to fix a deep ball, but at first he needs to get his confidence back up.
He's on his toes, bouncing all the time.
That's how Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre played.
I get it. He's not making the completions he needs to make. The 10 to 15-yard completions, they're just not there. He's missing people badly.
Okay, part of that is wide receivers' faults.
I'm taking out the ones that they should have caught, but there has been balls that have missed in a 15-yard radius where he's missed them by 5 yards. You can't have that. He's thrown up. He's had an interception at least one per game.
No,
you can't do that.
I don't know. I'm losing defense of this at this point. I really am. But it is not. I'm still going to say this is more on coaching. You're not doing stuff to get him confident. Watching Matt LaFleur on the sideline look like he just pooped his pants.
You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
And this is going to sound like, guys, stop talking about Wisconsin, but he looks like Paul Chryst on the sidelines last year.
Matt LaFleur?
Yeah, just not there. I'm not sure if he's engaged, but yet he's not. His press conference after the last game was awful.
He just reminds me of coaches I've had that were just getting ready to scream once I got off the field, and the way the players react towards him. You're not seeing conversations between Love and LaFleur really on the sideline, which is not a good thing to see.
You know who Ben Kirk is?
Former backup quarterback of the Green Bay Packers.
He's on Twitter and he's very active, but he went off on LaFleur. You know, saying that he was a whipping boy. And granted, that was his role.
Yeah,
was to be a whipping boy when he was there. So I'm not taking it with a grain of salt, but he's pointing out some things in that locker room that have not been right for years.
As a coach, you shouldn't need a whipping boy.
You shouldn't.
I'm tired of that thing where like your role is to be a whipping boy. As a coach, you should be good enough to not need a whipping boy. If you have a problem with Aaron Rodgers, stand up to Aaron Rodgers. You don't just go and scream at people when they haven't done anything wrong.
Guess what?
If that's what you're doing, then you shouldn't be the head coach of this team.
LaFleur would never stand up. He didn't have the ability to stand up to Aaron Rodgers.
No, bring in Eric Bieniemy. He talks like that to everybody. And I love it. At least you know where you stand.
Well, it goes back to the old, remember the Titans. He goes after all his players.
Yeah.
He doesn't care what they look like.
Right.
And LaFleur doesn't. If he really is going after, if he does have a whipping boy like he did with Ben Kirk,
I think it's Jordan Love now. I mean, the confidence is starting to wane in Jordan Love. That's what I'm starting to see more than anything. He's not playing loose. No. He has no confidence. You're destroying this quarterback. You need to bring in a new coach. You need to bring in a new GM if he thinks trading Rasul Douglas is a good idea. I just don't know what's going on in Green Bay. It's becoming a shit show. We have the draft coming in here, and I need a new GM before that pick is made.
Well, I got to be honest with you. You look at, Goody should have been fired for losing 3 Hall of Famers in back-to-back years. Right. He lost Devontae Adams, and he lost Rodgers. Now he's losing David Bakhtiari.
Yeah, he's hurt. That's a different ballgame.
Would he be hurt if?
Oh, that's a good question. The one defense I will have over Jordan Love more than anything is when Brett Favre first came into this league, he was not accurate with the deep ball. He had a cannon for an arm. He was not accurate with it, though. He relied a lot on Robert Brooks and Sterling Sharp and Antonio Freeman later on to get under those balls.
But he get him in the neighborhood. Love's not even in the neighborhood with his deep ball.
He wasn't in the neighborhood when he first came into this league.
Yes, he was.
No, he was not.
The first game he ever played, he threw a bomb.
But he had some rocket balls where even his head coach was getting ready to bench him.
Sure.
Because of how bad they were thrown. He threw them to the other team half the time. That's why he has so many interceptions.
That was a different game than it is now.
I understand, but if we can accept that with Brett Favre and watch him get better, we can accept it with Jordan Love and watch him get better. The difference is we saw it in Atlanta with him where he didn't have a coach he got along with, right?
Sure.
We have the same thing here. If we bring in a different coach, I believe Jordan Love can be fixed. And if he can't, he can't.
Love doesn't have the talent. He's not even able to carry the shower shoes of Favre or Rodgers.
He can't right now. But at the same time, which quarterbacks can?
Oh my God, he's in the top. He's probably between 25 and 30 as far as quarterbacks in the
right now.
Yeah, he's just not there. I wanted him to succeed. I was rooting for him. He's not a good quarterback.
He has the intangibles. It's all there. He has a strong arm. He's losing his confidence.
He doesn't have a strong arm.
He has no veterans out there helping him. You threw him under the fire and said, go ahead, this is all on you in your first year starting after Aaron Rodgers leaves.
He's had 4 years in the program. He's throwing the same.
This is his fourth year. He's still never started a game.
Fine. He's throwing the same balls that he did when he was at Utah State.
I don't think so.
He's not a good thrower of the deep ball, and you've got to be. And now he's just launching him up in the air. He doesn't.
His confidence is gone. His team's trash.
Well, if his confidence is gone, then it's time to move on and at least give Clifford a shot. I agree with you. It's not happening until Thanksgiving. But after that, what do you got to lose? You might as well see what you've got in Clifford.
You might as well see a new coach. I mean, that's just it. LaFleur needs to be fired. He's lost this. This is worse than when McCarthy left. McCarthy left because he had lost the accountability piece with his players. That was the biggest complaint, right? This is not. This is like, I'm going to keep tightening the reins here the harder this gets. I mean, it's just like you can't control everything, man. And his play calling's garbage. He's not being creative. It's conservative play calling at best, if not just bad play calling. This isn't Jordan Love's fault. It's not. It's a whole team's fault. Don't get me wrong, but you have a kid who his confidence has been completely taken away. If you look at the first 3 games versus now, there's a huge difference.
Yeah. Look,
and it's all on coaching.
I don't think it's as much on coaching as now they've got film on him and they know what to do to attack him. He's easy to sack. He doesn't have.
Well, anybody's easy to sack when you have our offensive line. This is the worst offensive line we've had in my lifetime.
Oh, absolutely. And here's
the worst wide receiver core we've had in my lifetime.
LaFleur has hired bad assistants.
Yeah.
And he's panicked on some of these, and Goody's panicked on his picks.
Correct.
So I agree with you that Green Bay needs a clean house. I'm not even putting them on our picks anymore because I just want to know the Rams win by how much?
Oh, 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Is it in Green Bay?
Yes.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns.
I was going to say 10 points. Okay. Let's go on to real picks.
All right.
Game 1. Good game. Dolphins at Chiefs.
This could be a good game.
Mahomes had what you had last week.
He was really sick last week. And if he had what I had last week, the fact that he was moving on a football field and not throwing up shows his competitiveness in getting out there. The Chiefs are going to win. I don't think just by 1 touchdown. I think this is going to be a big Chiefs victory. The Dolphins on the road, especially in northern towns, now it's getting cold. Not good.
They haven't looked as good the last several games.
I will say they've been bad since they traded for Chase Claypool. I think they need to cut him, and that guy's just a cancer in the clubhouse.
It could be.
Next game I got. Oh, sorry, you picked this one.
No, I was going to take the Chiefs.
Chiefs as well?
I think they're going to win, yeah.
Next game on the list, this is going to be an interesting one because the Will Levis era officially is starting in Tennessee. It is the Titans at the Steelers.
Look, Kenny Pickett, those small hands are starting to show themselves.
Again, he's got the same hand size as you.
Which are small hands.
And smaller hands than me.
Right.
I have 9-inch hands. You have 8.5-inch hands, which are the same size as Kenny Pickett's hand. What did we say from the beginning? Whopper Jr. hands is not going to be able to make it, and we're seeing that again now.
And Pittsburgh fans are incredibly loyal, especially to a local kid.
Right.
I don't think, honestly, looking back on it, in hindsight, 2020, they never should have drafted Pickett. They shouldn't have put him in this situation. I liked what I saw in Will Levis last week.
Yeah.
And
for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I see them going in and winning fairly easily.
I got the Titans on this one too.
Okay.
I mean, this is the Will Levis era, and I think it's going to start out with a bang. The question is what's going to happen to Willis in Tennessee? I'm surprised he wasn't traded.
I am too.
He need a backup.
He's going to, you know what? And Love can go on and be a backup. They make a lot of money. If I could be a backup in the NFL, sign me up today.
Oh, you and me both.
It's the best job in football. Next game I've got is the McCarthys against the Eagles.
I had to eat some words on Dak Prescott last week, didn't I?
You did. A nice pick with the Rams there.
But here's the thing with Dak Prescott. You either get a guy who looks like a Hall of Famer, or you get a guy that looks like he should be bagging groceries. You don't get anything in between. I think you're going to see Dak Prescott go back to where he was, and the Eagles are going to win.
And I think the Cowboys are going to build on that win, and I think they're going to go into Philadelphia and punch Philadelphia in the mouth.
This is for the lead in the division. So
I'm rooting for Mike McCarthy.
I am too, but I also understand the situation they have with their quarterback.
True.
Next game we have on the list, this is an interesting one.
Best
So
game of the week.
Rasul Douglas now in Buffalo helped that defense out quite a bit. And the Bengals, what did I say? What did I say?
Your boy
The
Joe
first
Burrow.
6 weeks are going to be rough for the Bengals, and then they're going to figure it out. The only question was, would they have done enough in the first 6 games to make it to the playoffs?
And they did.
And all of a sudden, after week 6, Bengals are starting to light it up. Football Jesus is back in town, and Joe Burrow's looking great. Who do you got? Bills at Bengals.
As much as I think Douglas will help Buffalo, it's his first week. It's not even close. I think the Bengals win this game.
This is going to make the Bills 5-4 with this loss. The Bengals are going to win this game. They are going to start to really advance in that division. The Bills are going to continue to fall apart because they're just not a great team this year. And it's crazy because it's the same team it was last year, but you started to see the cracks early in the season. It's going to continue to crack from here. The Bengals run away with this one. I think this is a big win for them.
All right, and the final game is just a fun game. Chargers at the Jets.
What is happening in LA with the Chargers?
Bad coach, quarterback combination.
This is real bad.
I mean,
it is not good at all.
Herbert is a top 10 quarterback in this league.
He is.
Probably
should be a top 5.
I was going to say, he probably should be close to the top 5.
I mean, you paid him like one. He better start winning some games. But they're 2 wins right now. They only have 2 wins on the season. And I tell you what, they're going to have only 2 wins after this Monday Night Football game. The Jets are going to come out on top. The Jets are going to start to win this division.
Jets looked bad last Sunday.
They didn't have to look good.
No, they played
What
down.
do they have to do? They have to win. That's all they have to do is win. They have to win the game.
Thank you, Herm.
But if they can hold on, and this is a big game for them to win, if they win this game, it puts them tied with the Bills losing in first place in the East.
Well, it's not going to happen. The Chargers are going to win this game.
It's no way the Chargers win this game. That is still the number 1 defense. They are playing for something bigger than them. Zach Wilson is looking better and better every single week, especially when it comes into the second half. They don't need to be great. They just need to be good enough to put a W on the board until Aaron Rodgers comes back after week 10.
It's not.
And they go to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
How can you say it's not? I said week 15. I said he's coming back in December, and he's definitely coming back in December.
I know. We saw Kirk Cousins blow out his Achilles, not even being touched.
Yeah.
And he's done for the year, obviously, at this point in the season. Rodgers isn't. Maybe week 15, maybe.
He doesn't have a boot.
I know. I love Aaron Rodgers.
We have to accept the fact. Aaron Rodgers is a genetic freak of nature.
If he comes back and plays,
we've seen it happen.
He hasn't played yet. If he
came back in 2.5 months from breaking the collarbone on his throwing shoulder.
He was a younger man at that point. He's a 40-year-old dude with a busted Achilles tendon.
By the way, he was my age when he did that. He was 33, 34 years old when he came back from that.
And he does do weird treatments. And I know this is an experimental procedure, which if I'm Kirk Cousins, I'm calling Aaron saying, can you get me in with your doc?
It's the same surgery.
Yeah, you got to go that route.
This guy's coming back because Aaron Rodgers has nothing to. Could he come back next year? Yeah, but he's going to go all in to win that Super Bowl and may not come back.
Well, and this team is good enough to win it.
This is the line from The Replacements. I can't remember the exact quote now. It's going to bother me, but chick dig scars, glory lasts forever. There's another part in that.
There's another part of that.
But that is where it is. The chicks are going to dig the scars. Glory lasts forever. That's Aaron Rodgers' mindset. It always has been throughout his entire football career. I don't care how this feels right now. I'm going to regret if I don't do this. And that's the same thing that's going to happen this year. The Jets are going to beat the Chargers on Monday Night Football. And you're going to start seeing the man who rises again to come in and take the Jets to this Super Bowl.
They're going to.
That's a much better story than Kurt Warner and the 1982 Brewers.
We didn't need to go back to that at all. I hope Rodgers comes back. I would love to see it because I love Aaron Rodgers, and I would love to see him stick it to front office in Green Bay, who should have worked with him instead of working against him his whole freaking career.
Only once Ted Thompson left.
But the Chargers are going to win this game.
No, it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. But you and I have had a great show. You let us what you think. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. But as every one of you viewers know, you cannot have a conversation with your father without your dad getting the last word. So it is all you.
You nervous about this one?
I am terrified.
We are now officially about 1 year out from the next presidential election. I am not going to get into the politics of it at all. Vote for who you want. What I am going to start talking about is we all have a lot of friends. Some of them are on the left, some of them are on the right. And for most of our lives, that's been fine. You could disagree, but you were still friends. We've gotten to the point in this country where if you're single, you've got to announce who you're going to vote for, because otherwise those people, if you vote for somebody else, the other person's not going to go out with you. We've got to stop that. United States, American people have to be unified on one thing, that we're all Americans. We all love this country. And we've got to stop ripping each other apart just because they support somebody of the other party. My God, that's ridiculous. You can be friends with other people and still disagree. We're 1 year out. My blood pressure is going up on it because I'm already seeing this kind of crap, and it's got to stop. Is that harmless?
Probably not.
I've got more coming.
Oh, great. Great. So this goes from a fun ending back to the scariest moment of my week. That's great to know.
Yeah, you haven't had the scariest moment of your week for a long time.
You've been kind to me.
I have.
It's a good message, though. Let's all stick together. Let's all stick together. Watch the Sports Talk with Dad. Thank you again for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.